Next. Viaggio nel nuovo contesto digitale di Pepe Moder.
Buonasera e un bentornato a tutti i nostri ascoltatori. Direttamente dal palco del Web Summit di Lisbona dell'anno scorso siamo riusciti a portare ai microfoni di Radio Next una persona sicuramente di rilevanza internazionale. Si tratta di Arnab, Head of Digital Products and Go-to-Market di Visa, con il quale questa sera parleremo di e-commerce e di pagamenti. Buonasera Arnab.
Hi, Pepe. Great to see you here again.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much for being here in Italy, in Milan, for this interview. It was really important for me having you here because I was really impressed by your speech, your roundtable that you conducted in Lisbon last year. And I was wondering whether you could give us your thoughts and your perception on how e-commerce is changing and how is impacting in this new economy that is evolving in a different way. Could you give us some flavors about the new trends of the e-commerce?
Yeah. So, Pepe, first of all, it was obviously great seeing you there. I look back at that event, that roundtable, very favorably because of all the folks who asked me questions, your questions were really bang on. So great to be here. So e-commerce, right? I think, as we know, it's gone through transformational change over especially the last 10 years where it's evolved massively. Mm-hmm. But even in the past decade, I think the exponential change that's happened has been driven by, the COVID years where everybody was locked up inside at home.
Everyone was expecting that the world would have been changed by COVID and then e-commerce would have exploded.
And it has, right?
Yes, it has. But now we are assisting at let's say, a wave, a counterback wave.
So let me kind of go back and say It has changed in multiple ways. So one of the things is, as I said, e-commerce, you're right, was growing. It exploded. The growth exploded during COVID times because, there was no other way to shop except for doing it online.
Sure.
Yes, we're probably going back to a more normal environment. Having said that, when we take a look at our data, especially post-COVID, we saw that about for every €1 spend that was happening in physical stores, around €1 or approximately €1 of spend was also happening in e-commerce environments. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is that people's behaviors changed and people are much more comfortable shopping online. Yes, they're still going back to the stores, but to say that people have regressed 10, 15 years is absolutely wrong. I fundamentally look at my family and my wife her habits haven't changed. She still shops. She could go to the shop and touch and feel it, but she'll come back home and then still place that order online. And in terms of things that have changed is, and which is not going to go back, is the expectations that a lot of consumers have, mm-hmm. right? Because now that they're so used to shopping online, and as I said, there's a broad parity in terms of the spend that we see between online shopping and a storefront or physical sales, that the expectation consumers have is of parity as well.
Right.
The expectations of the user experience, the security, and businesses, right? Businesses who serve the consumers, and even payments networks like Visa and everyone else who actually enables those payments have to cater to those experiences that consumers basically expect. I'll actually boil it down to two things, right? Mm-hmm. The parity between e-commerce and storefront or physical commerce. It just boils down to two aspects: the simplicity in the payments mm-hmm. and the security that the payments can provide. And so that's, as I said, from a consumer point of view, these are the trends that we're seeing, the expectations. But from a technology standpoint as well, companies like Visa and many others have also evolved the tech stack, and we'll be talking about that over the next few minutes, has changed. And
you can repeat.
Yeah. So did we talk about challenges now, or do we talk about it later?
No, we will talk about later.
Later.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do I leave it?
You left saying that consumers are still.
Yeah, so their expectation, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so let's go. So we'll stop there, and then we can start with. So that's happening at the consumer level, right? But even company payment networks like Visa and our partners have invested considerably in technologies that allow for that simplicity and secure experiences that we expect.
Okay, but what are the challenges that you are facing in these evolving markets, either from a consumer experience and from a customer, your customer, so the provider, the reseller, the online e-commerce market?
So the challenges, right? So let me look at it. I'll give you two answers, right? One of it is from what we see as a global payments network. We see there are essentially three types of challenges, right? Challenge number one is at a fraud rate level. We still see that there is quite a range in fraud outcomes in an online environment, from a best-in-class fraud, which is probably equivalent to 2 euro cents for every 100 euros of spend, to the other extreme, which is probably 20 euro cents for every 100 euros of spend. So that's quite a bit of range and fraud that we see. The second is inconsistent user experience we've noticed as well. Again, pick best in class, which the biometrics gives you. In a click, things are happening, to a user experience where people are having to manually enter their card details. And the third thing is data quality. We see, again, extremely good data quality, which could include device IDs, browser address, and so on and so forth, which allows great fraud detection. And on the other extreme, there could be very poor data quality, which not only impacts the decisioning that companies can make from a payments point of view, but even for merchants they won't be able to hyper-personalize experience, which frankly, a lot of consumers expect. So the second part of it is the challenges, or in our parlance, we call it friction, that consumers like you, and by the way, we're all consumers as well.
Of course,
right?
yes.
So let me give an example. I think this challenge is being solved, but hasn't been solved completely. Imagine yourself in a train, you're going to work, and you're browsing on your mobile, and you spot this pair of shoes that you've been wanting to buy for a long time. But, in the train, in the busy train, you've got people coming in and people going out, and you're fumbling through your bag, and you know what? You just don't want to pull out your card and type in your 16 digits. So what do? You give up. And then, so that's an example of a key challenge, right? A friction. Rarely do you, in a physical environment, walk up to the till and leave the purchase, right? The other is the cardholder verification, right? Or we call it authentication, or in other words, it is you who you say you are behind the screen. I think a lot of us in Italy would probably understand this frustration as well, where ever so often your issuer steps up. So that means you are redirected from the merchant website back to the issuer's banking app. You need to log in, authorize the purchase, and then you're redirected back to the merchant. That's another. It's clunky, right? In 2025, we expect the experiences to be simple.
What is the recipe that you as a Visa think could solve these kinds of frictions from a consumer standpoint?
I think so. So you said from a Visa standpoint,
yeah, sure.
Right? So, or basically the payment system provider. So I think there's one thing is the tech stack that a lot of payment system providers have. We need to move to a modern tech stack. So obviously different definitions exist. The the agility of the tech stack, and so on and so forth. But the way we see it is, it's the base of your tech stack should have what we call tokenization, right? That should be the baseline, the bedrock of your tech stack.
Can you explain us what a tokenization is, please?
Yeah, great question, right? Because me being in this industry, I expect everybody to know tokenization, but frankly,
it's you cannot give it for granted to anyone on the market.
Yeah, correct. And I actually, I'll go sidebar commentary. When I joined this team, I've been in Visa a long time, but I joined the team a couple of years ago. And I myself was going, hey, hang on, I should know what it is. And I actually didn't. So let me give you an example that I used to understand it myself.
Sure.
Imagine you go to a casino and you exchange your money, your physical money, for tokens. And then you start walking to the slot machine. And as you're going to the slot machine, somebody picks your your wallet, and your tokens are lost. So you panic. And then once you panic, you go back to the counter and say, hey, my wallet's been picked.
Sold, yeah.
There's no tokens left. So the guy at the counter says, hey, don't worry. Keep in mind one thing. Those tokens can only be used in this casino, right? So if this guy runs away and uses it somewhere else, it can't be used. So that gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And the other thing is, he says, hey, you know what? Now that you've reported this to me, I'm going to deactivate the tokens, and therefore the tokens won't even work in this casino. By the way, that's exactly what tokenization means in the payments industry. So what we basically do is Visa takes those 16 digits you have in your card, and we desensitize it and encrypt it for use in the e-commerce environment. So tomorrow, if somebody steals those details from that website, it won't be used. They won't be able to use it anywhere else. And once reported, that can be deactivated for use on that website as well.
So you're saying me that with tokenization, we can expect that every kind of fraud will be, let's say, solved or will not occur anymore?
No, right? I mean, frankly, you can't eliminate fraud 100%.
Okay.
Fraudsters are also very smart, right? They use technology.
Yeah.
I think the key is for trusted payment providers to continuously innovate and be a few steps ahead, right? It's a cat and mouse game where innovation is absolutely essential, but you need to embrace technology and remain a few steps ahead. So I go back to how you view your tech stack, right? So tokenization has to be the bedrock of it. And that's the foundation. And by the way, on tokenization, before I go into, what other things you do, in October in 2024, we saw about 50% of e-commerce transactions use our token technology.
Okay.
Right? And by the way, that's in Europe, and the Italian figure is broadly the same as well. And the other thing to know is that all Italian cards can be tokenized, right? So that's a given. So I think from a foundational point of view, the Italian market's doing very well as well. But you need to then layer on that technology with seamless authentication, right? So technologies like Visa Payment Passkeys, which we've recently announced, that tries to solve the problems of friction, as I said, which is you go from the merchant's website to your banking app, authorize. We try to eliminate that, simplify it. And it's with biometric authentication. So what's a better way to authenticate yourself than your fingerprints, right? So that's another technology layer.
So your biometrics, we are talking about biometrics at the end.
Exactly, at the end of the day, right? So leverage that. And then the third thing is, again, go back to that friction example I gave, is the botheration of entering your card details, right? For example, when I was entering your offices, your station today, they asked me for my ID. You know what? I'm not carrying my wallet. I rarely carry my wallet anymore. So when that's happening, for me to remember my 16 digits is a problem, as I said.
Sure.
So payment system providers, right, need to then layer these two stacks with technology that eliminates the entry of your card. And your question would be how, right? So we've partnered with, and we are a part of this payments industry body called EMVCo.
Okay.
So for people who don't know EMVCo, they're the ones who set technology standards in our industry. They're the ones who set the technology standards for contactless, right? So what we did together with them is we've set the technology standards for something known as click to pay, right? Which tries to eliminate the manual entry of card details, right? In fact, that is available in 32 countries in Europe. It's live. It needs to be scaled, but it's live. About 7.6 million cards in Europe are already enrolled. And even in Italy, you've got some large players like Nexi and Fabric who are already live, right? And we're continuously working with all our partners.
Just to better understand, are you talking about virtual cards that do not require the digit of the 16 digits, or what kind of new cards are these?
Okay, so great question. These are not new cards, right? All I'm saying is that it's your digital representation of your card, right?
Okay.
So Click to Pay tries to eliminate you having to. So you've got a physical card with you, Pepe, and then it's got your 16 digits, which nothing is, but it's an identifier.
Sure.
So all we're saying is we're not giving you a card. If that 16 digits on your physical card, we could link it with other ways of linking rather than you memorizing your 16 digits. So let me make it clear. So you go to that store. Typically, all online stores will ask you for your email or your mobile number to send the invoice and XYZ.
Sure.
So Click to Pay tries to pull up your details, right? Once you've entered your email, going, hey, I recognize Pepe's email ID. Pepe has XYZ card underneath that, right? And by the way, it won't show your entire card details. It'll be XXX and something. So that's what we're saying. The moment that happens, then you don't need to actually enter your card details anymore.
Okay. Just to go to the end to this fabulous chat, AI is, of course, let's say, over the mouth, the lips of everyone. So it's the paramount discussion about any kind of industry, any kind of project of innovation. How could AI help solve the problems of frauds and of frictions by leveraging on the vast amount of data that I'm supposing you have? You and other competitors, other players on the market.
Yeah, correct. So you're absolutely right. AI is on everyone's lips today. But part of me also feels that AI has existed for a while, right? So AI, as he said, it's the ability to use the vast amounts of data towards solving these problems. By the way, Visa, we've had a lot of data, and we're a trusted company. We maintain our data center securely. We've used data to solve a lot of these problems over the years. But I think what's happening now is there's an exponential increase in the number of data points, right? So let me use the example of biometrics, right? When you say biometrics, Pepe, what comes to your mind?
My face, my fingerprint, any kind of, let's say, part of my body that can be recognized or can be used in order to be recognized.
Exactly. But let me try to extend this argument a little bit, right? Biometrics is not just your face ID, your retinal ID, or fingerprint, but it's the way, even everyone's voice, the way it modulates is unique, right? And not just that, the way you type on a keyboard is also a pattern that you're leaving. So our expectation is that
So you're saying also behaviors?
Yes, correct. So behaviors are unique to individuals. Now, are we able to do it today? I don't think we're there yet, but they make no mistake, over time, all these data points will be captured along with other data points like device ID, browser IP address, and so on and so forth. And with these huge amounts of data, smart, trusted companies would be able to solve the problem of fraud and friction. So let me again give you an example. Say you tap on your laptop right now and make a purchase. And then moments later, somebody else, maybe a chatbot sitting in Peru, right, makes a purchase online. The data would be the data points would basically pick up, hey, the chatbot clearly is typing much faster than Pepe normally does. And hang on, the IP address is in Peru. Let's add all these data points and we'll be able to then determine it's actually not Pepe who's making that transaction. So that's how we believe AI and large language models would be able to consume all this data and give outcomes back to that point about security and simplicity. Because if it's secure, then they don't need to bother you with, if they know it's who you are, you don't need to actually go here, there, everywhere to prove that.
So in other words, you're saying me that you are, let's say, figuring out, building a background based on behaviors and data. And let's say you check whether this background is coherent with the profile of the user that you have.
Correct. And by the way, that's happening today as well. All I'm saying is that with AI, the number of data points and data elements will be more and more. Okay. And you'd be able to trawl through lots more data to make those decisions.
Arnab, listen, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you very much for your thoughts, for having shared with us your thought, for being here today. I hope to see you again in Lisbon next year. Well, end of this year. And one last comment about an advice you would like to provide to companies who run e-commerce in order to improve their e-commerce.
Yeah, so that's a good question. The advice that I'd give, right, as I've been saying, is modernize your tech stack, right? So just ensure that you don't have legacy systems. You should have tech stacks that are modernized. Embrace technologies that at least is coming from trusted providers like us. There's other trusted providers as well. And the other thing is also think of everything from the point of view as a consumer, because everyone who's running a business is consumer first, and then use those experiences to say, hey, what can I do? Who do I partner with in order to actually give the experiences that a consumer would want?
E allora grazie ad Arnab De, Head of Digital Products Go-to-Market in Visa Europe, per essere stato con noi.
Thank you so much, Pepe.
Grazie a Carlo in regia, grazie a tutti voi per essere stati con noi questa sera. Una bellissima e bella lunga intervista. Vi ricordo i nostri appuntamenti ogni venerdì alle 20:45 è una nuova puntata di Radio Next. A seguire il podcast con la versione estesa della nostra chiacchierata. E come sempre non mi rimane altro che augurarvi un buon weekend e darvi il mio saluto da parte di Pepe Moder.